We're making waves and keeping it real. It's Real Talk Rhody with Bekah Berger.
Hey, it's Bekah with another edition of Real Talk Rhody. If you are new around here, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's about the reality television that is filming in Rhode Island or any other local projects, plus just kind of a broader conversation about entertainment and pop culture in general. So thank you if you are new to us. We appreciate it. And by we, I mean me. And if you're a day one, as in all the way back in June, I appreciate you as well. And I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. That was a fun little mic move if you're watching YouTube. And also, if you are watching Real Talk Rhody on YouTube, I am very sorry about the ring light reflection on my glasses. I know that there are hacks for that, but I don't have that hack right now. So I'm going to hack away at podcast Real Talk Rhody right now. A lot to get to on this particular edition of Real Talk Rhody, as in, I think we might have a potential air date or window for when Real Housewives of Rhode Island will premiere on Bravo. We're going to get to that. Plus, I was on Watch What Happens Live this week. It was really exciting. I was on Sunday night's episode. We're going to get to that. And a guest of ours today will be Wells Adams. You know Wells from Bachelor Nation, everyone's favorite lovable bartender on Bachelor in Paradise. He is also on The Traitors. He's married to actress Sarah Hyland. I just saw Sarah on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. She was performing with Jonathan Goff on, I think it was, the show's called Just in Time, doing a little Mac the Knife. That was a lot of fun to watch. She's so talented. She's definitely moved away from her days as Haley Dunphy on Modern Family. So he's married to her. And also, I don't know if you know this, Wells has local roots to New England. So I'm going to tell you, and he's actually going to share more about that. And I can't wait to share that with you. One thing I want to get to, I had a little bit of a light bulb moment a few days ago. And it has everything to do with sort of a new edition Jax Taylor. For those who watch Vanderpump Rules, he's bad boy Jax Taylor. Has had to slow down the last few years, had some legal trouble, splitting from Brittany Cartwright. Things got dark on the last season of The Valley. He's no longer with The Valley. So that's Jax Taylor. But we sort of have a 2025 version of Jax Taylor, and his name is Marciano. I think his last name is Brunette. I hope I'm getting that right. Now, when I first saw Marciano, I did not watch Vanderpump Villa, another Lisa Vanderpump project on Hulu. Stassi Schroeder is involved. And if you don't watch some of these shows, I know that this is a little bit of a different language for you. So I try to be really mindful of that. But sometimes I can't do glossary of terms every single time. So hopefully you know enough to get by. Marciano, Vanderpump Villa, I didn't watch it, but I did see Marciano play a pretty big role on the second season of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, getting caught up with things having to do with Demi. He's actually suing Demi from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Had some kind of, we still don't know the exact, like how far they went with this hookup with Jesse from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and Marciano. And you're probably asking, all right, Bekah, why are you talking so much about Marciano from Vanderpump Villa and featured on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? When I first saw him, I thought, there's something a little bit familiar about this guy. I always think, okay, he's an East Coast guy, maybe New York, maybe New Jersey. But I also remember thinking, God, he's got like this like Cranston, Johnston, North Providence vibe. Put it away in my head, moved on with my life. Okay. So I posted on my story at Bekah Berger about this Marciano lawsuit with Demi from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, because he plays like his persona, his character is definitely a big part of the last couple seasons of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And I had a message that said, oh, I used to see him at Aftercare in Cranston. Like I was one of the teachers or helpers. And I thought to myself, wait, is this the same Marciano? I mean, Marciano for a first name is a pretty unique name. I mean, there could be more than one Marciano, but I I would say about 90% of the time I do believe my DMs. And 90% of the time they do check out. And this particular person is she's a good source. I don't really know how else to describe that. Like, she's legit, okay? And so I did a little digging and I did a little who does he know that I know? And I got it confirmed that Marciano actually grew up in Rhode Island, in Cranston and Narragansett, and then he and his family ended up because I thought because it said Vegas everywhere, that he's from Vegas, and that's how he ends up on Vanderpump Villa. Turns out, homie's from Cranston. And so next time you see Marciano, you can say, oh my God, that dude is from Cranston. Ties to both Seatown and Narragansett. And I had to get that out there on Real Talk Rhody because I just feel like that's something important. It's another person with reality show ties, with ties to Rhode Island. I mean, the list goes on. And I would love to get Marciano on, just sort of about the journey, if he always wanted to be famous in this way, in this capacity, if he kind of just fell into it or what. But he definitely gives me Jax Taylor vibes. And I'm sure if he was here right now, he would agree, and that he's had that comparison before. All right, let's talk about Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Social media activity, just observations that a lot of the cast members are definitely posting more. I mean, some like Ashley I's always been very active. She is an influencer. She has so much content from influencing alone, and good for her. A million brands are partnering with Ashley, and I bet a million more will partner after Real Housewives of Rhode Island is airing. And so I've been noticing, though, that those that didn't really classically post much, which I love, I think I've mentioned this. I love that those who don't classically, like, aren't chasing influence. I don't mean Rory chasers, because Rory chasers, that's my people right there. I mean, like, the people who are thirsty for clout. A lot of these girls do not strike me like that. In fact, like, they probably were told to post more and they were probably like, oh, really? So I do appreciate the effort. They've definitely been hanging out a lot more, probably before they were assembled as a cast. I don't doubt that there were connections before, but I'm sure they have to feel like they probably are made to feel like they need to connect even more now. And definitely giving more influencer vibe than their prior social media activity. So that's sort of what I'm observing. I'm sure a lot of you are observing the same thing if you do follow the cast members of Real Housewives of Rhode Island. So the casting group that assembled our Avengers, that assembled the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, they posted on Monday morning. It has the logo with the lighthouse, Real Housewives of Rhode Island, and it says February 2026. So immediately I share it and I say, oh, there we go. Chasers picks it up. Chasers posts it. And I've heard February or March many, many times. February, March. So they all but confirmed February 2026 is when we're going to get a Real Housewives of Rhode Island premiere. Now, I don't know exactly what date. Is it going to be early in the month? Is it going to be later in the month? I just know that it is the month of love, and I would love to see a premiere. Sooner the better, right? Who's in season right now? Potomac and Salt Lake. So they're probably going to be wrapping up in the next several weeks. Beverly Hills just kicked off with Rachel Zoe. Off to a great start. She was made to be a housewife of Beverly Hills. Side note on that, I love this new football reality show they have on Bravo, where Heather Gay kind of said that the ladies of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills were the coldest. Not an inviting group, I believe she said. It fits the brand. They're trying to just stick to the script of, well, we're from Beverly Hills. Sorry. But it is kind of weird to act like that at BravoCon. Hopefully they weren't like that with the fans. But also don't act like that in front of your fellow Bravo Lebs. Everyone's putting the same designer jeans on, 1 foot at a time here. So Beverly Hills just kicked off. They're still going to be in season, I believe, by February. And it's not unlikely you'll have to look at Salt Lake and Potomac right now. They're both in season. So I can kind of see, and you got kind of a dual coast to coast action, East Coast, West Coast, Beverly Hills, Rhode Island on at the same time. I could go on a whole Diddy tangent right now, by the way, over on Netflix of East Coast, West Coast, and the Tupac and Biggie of it all, but I will not. This is not called Real Talk True Crime or Real Talk Diddy the Reckoning. It's called Real Talk Rhody. But if you want to talk about that documentary, you just slide right into my DMs because I have a lot of thoughts. Anyways, so yeah, Beverly Hills and Rhode Island, I could definitely see on at the same time on Bravo. Also, Summer House, I believe February 3rd is the launch. And that trailer, season 10 is clearly a transition year. They're going to transition out people like Carl and Lindsay. They're getting their own show anyway. Lindsay, Amanda, Sierra could easily stay, but there's 6 new people on Summer House, and that, I mean, the writing's on the wall here. We're gonna get a whole new crop of Summer House mates, and the OG crew is gonna transition out, very similar to Vanderpump Rules and The Valley. And so I can see Summer House and Real Housewives of Rhode Island being on at the same time. It's got the East Coast vibes, ocean, summer vibes. So I could totally see Bravo saying this makes sense to put them on at the same time. Now, interestingly enough, a few hours later, after the post from the casting agency that allegedly put together the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, they updated their caption to just coming in 2026. So not specifically February. I've heard it's February. I have DMs telling me it's February, and I don't doubt that it's February. But things could change. Things always can change. So Sunday night, I was on the after show of Watch What Happens Live. It's always an honor. This was my 3rd time. And by now, if you've been listening to Real Talk Rhody or listening to me on the radio from my WPRO, Hot 106, and now Pro FM days, you know I'm a huge Bravo fan anyway. So the fact that I get to talk to Andy and be part of a show that is so huge for me and so big in my sort of orbit, it's a big deal. This was my 3rd time. I think I already said that. Who am I kidding? Am I trying to be in the 5-timers club like on SNL when they get jackets? I guess. And so it seems like they reach out to the same group of people at the same time every year, because I remember getting a similar note. Well, actually, my last time was when Andy Cohen said, "Don't bleep with people from Rhode Island," when he introduced me as Bekah from Rhode Island. And that was last June. That was like when things were starting to rumble about Real Housewives of Rhode Island. So not exactly the same time of year, but they reached out like a month and a half ago. I couldn't do the first few dates that they put out there, but finally I was able to do the Watch What Happens Live with Sarah Sherman from SNL. And yeah, I just mentioned SNL a little while ago. I love her. She's very quirky. She's probably what we always wanted Zoe Deschanel to be like, just sort of that like quirky, nerdy, awkward type. But Zoe was a little too put together for it, if that makes any sense. So Sarah Sherman, comedian, was on, and then Monique Samuels from Real Housewives of Potomac. I was able to ask Monique a question, and here's how it went.
Here's Bekah from Rhode Island with a virtual question for Monique.
Andy, so excited about Real Housewives of Rhode Island. I have my anchor on in anticipation of it. Love you, Sarah. My question is for the beautiful Monique. What was your reaction to Charisse calling your ex at Giselle's event to try and clear the air with the Stacey drama? And whose account do you believe between Stacey and Cookie?
I just thought it was interesting because it's like, since when is he friends with all of these people that we removed from our lives years ago?
Yeah.
So it was just, all of it was just very confusing. And I was like literally learning that information firsthand. And honestly, I don't believe any of them. I don't believe that Chris didn't know anything about it, because he's the type that will put information out and hide his hand. So the conversation could have very well happened. He could have protected Stacey in that moment, and he just threw Cookie under the bus.
So I had to get the Rhode Island mention in there. It's not like he gave me the in. It's not like he gave me the intro, but I got a good thumbs up and a look over to the side. So I hope that that means something. And I was on the after show. I wasn't on the main show. So you didn't see it if you watched the episode. I had a couple people into my DMs like, "Oh, I didn't see you on the show," almost like trying to call me out. And I was on the after show. It's still on YouTube. I can still post it, still use it. to build my portfolio, to make me a little bit more of a, Bravo expert, give me some Bravo clout, some legitimacy here. And it was really fun. I'm really happy I was able to be on Watch What Happens Live again. All right, we're going to talk to Wells Adams. So Wells is he's hosting. He has been so booked and busy. Wells is a radio guy, by the way. He worked for our competitors, not here, but I believe in Nashville, and I think he might have been syndicated. Very successful. And so then when he was on The Bachelorette, he had a lot of success. And immersed in this world of reality TV, not just so much in Bachelor Nation, but he was on The Traitors. He has a podcast with Dolores. We talk about that. And I wanted to get his take on Ashley I, who he dated pretty quickly, Bachelor in Paradise, and his thoughts. He has some really good insight as to how he thinks are going to go down with Ashley on Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And make sure you check out his show that he's hosting. It's definitely got that food comfort vibe around the holidays. It's called Sweet Empire Winter Wars, and he's going to tell us more about that. Here's Wells Adams. It's Bekah Berger, Real Talk Rhody podcast, and with 92 Pro FM, we're talking with Wells Adams. Wells, correct me if I'm wrong, you have some local connections around here. I don't remember if this was on social media or on Bachelor in Paradise, but you name-checked your grandmother who lived in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Yeah, my grandparents both were from Fall River, Massachusetts, and yeah, we're a very Portuguese family. And I just remember eating a lot of sardines when I would go visit them over there and stuff.
That tracks. Did you and your family come back and visit often to Fall River?
We only went a couple times. My mother's family, they lived over a bar, and I think that my grandfather or my vuzi and my vazi were like, we should probably not be living above a bar. So then they moved out to Los Angeles, but I've been back there to see it and stuff and experience the town. And so yeah, I have a kinship to Fall River.
Yeah, you have to the Riv.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the name of the bar? Not to put you on the spot.
No, and I don't think it exists anymore. But we've got a picture. We made this big, book, whatever, with all these old pictures and stuff. And there's a picture of it, and you can see the little apartment that was above it. So, yeah, my grandfather and his brothers, they ran it. They ran the bar underneath it, and then actually my great grandfather great grandfather, he was arrested during Prohibition for running booze, which is it's a cool story, but also the most Portuguese thing in the world. I did one of those commercials with Ancestry.com, where they go through your stuff, and they were really excited. They were like, everyone wants this, but you actually have a relative who was arrested during Prohibition.
You got an A+.
Yeah.
You won Ancestry.com.
Yeah. And it makes sense too, because I play a bartender on Bachelor in Paradise. So it totally checks, and
it's in your roots.
It is. It's where I come from. It's
your origin story.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's quite the glow up, going from Fall River to Los Angeles.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's very, very nice. All of a sudden, my mom was going to USC. That seems really nice. Yeah.
Well, we're talking with Wells Adams with local ties. You just mentioned Bachelor in Paradise. There's a couple Bachelor items I want to get to before we talk about Sweet Empire. I have to get your opinion. I know that she's sort of an ex of yours, but we're big fans of Ashley I and Jared around here. So I'd love to get your take, especially as somebody who's so knowledgeable in the world of reality TV, about the Real Housewives now having their first crossover with The Bachelor and Bachelorette. Ashley I is a Real Housewife of Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's funny. I do a podcast because I was on the show Traitors. So I do a podcast with Dolores Catania, who was the winner of season 3 that I was on as well. And so she's on the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And so, one of the first episodes, she was like, Wells, do you know this Ashley I girl? And I was like, yeah, I kind of dated her on Paradise, 8 years ago. And she goes, she's crying all the time. Is everything okay with her? And I was like, everything's perfect. That if she's crying all the time, then everything is right in the world. Because
That's baseline.
yes, Ashley is always crying. I will say this. I love Ashley. I think the world's better when she's on our TV screens. And the one thing that I really love about Ashley, which I can't say for everyone that I come across in the Bachelor world, is that she is authentically herself all the time. And I appreciate that because it's a really hard thing to do, to be really vulnerable, which she is a lot because she cries a lot, and to be really honest while cameras are being pointed at you and mics are there and, producers are whispering things in people's ears and stuff. So I think that listen, I don't watch like a lot of Real House. I don't think I'm the demo for Real Housewives shows, but I have a feeling that she will be fantastic television.
I agree. And I agree with you about the authenticity and the vulnerability as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Talking for a living is hard. We're talking with Wells Adams. All right. So Sweet Empire is a show you host. It's over on Food Network. It's a holiday competition series, Sunday nights. Tell us about it.
So yeah, holiday baking show with just hyper realistic cake builders, chocolatiers, and sugar artists. It was an absolute dream to film this show. We did it up in Toronto, which already has like a holiday feel. The set, the Yuletide Lodge, was absolutely perfect. And it's got a little bit of a twist, a Sweet Empire. What does that mean? So like on the first day, we have 14 bakers come in. I give them all a task, make this really cool thing. And then Jacques Torres and Yolanda Gamp are my judges. They come in and we judge everyone's and we pick the top 6, right? And then it turns into a game of dodgeball vis-a-vis third grade PE, where the first place person gets to choose who's on their team or their quote unquote empire. And all of a sudden they start building their empire. And that becomes an interesting, just dramatic saga in itself, because you might be a great cake artist, but I need that sugar artist, or like, I need that chocolatier. And every week empires rise or fall or crumble or get absorbed into other empires. And everyone's constantly trying to figure out who to poach from other teams. And, every baker was on a TV show and I think had won a baking competition on TV, save one or two. So all these people are used to being the leaders, and now they're not, unless they are the leader of the empire. And that's dramatic in itself. The ending's beautiful, but also like it's just a kind of lovely, kind of like heartwarming holiday thing. And listen, we've got one episode left. It's coming up on Food Network on Sunday, but if you've missed it, you can watch it on HBO Max or Discovery Plus. You can binge it there. And I assume a lot of people will do that when everyone comes home for Christmas. They're sitting around the fire or they're in the kitchen baking or cooking, and like, you just throw this on, feel good TV. And then you get some ideas for some bakes you might make for the holidays.
What ideas did you get from it?
The ideas I got was I need to go on a diet because I ate too much of the stuff and I gained a lot of weight. It's when you host these shows that you have to eat it on camera. And Jacques and Yolanda have done this so often, so they know to just take a bite and then you're good. Not me. I was like, can I get another plate? And everyone's like, dude, you need to chill out.
And that's surprising because you're not allowed to eat on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
That is very true. But you're allowed to drink on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I know that for a fact. So.
Yes, you do. And just really quick on Sweet Empire, can you compare it to other reality shows like it? Is it a combination of any other reality shows that you can think of? I'm kind of getting Traitors a little bit, but the fact that everybody's on top of their game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I remember when the producers came to me with the idea and I was like, oh, this is so cool because the normal traditional baking thing is it's, one person against one person or, one person against a bunch of other people. And this one, there becomes a team element. You need to have a political game. So I kind of saw a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
With you really need to work your political game. You need to make sure people like you and whatever, because you might need to bring them onto your team and stuff. And then I saw Traitors as well, because you're worrying about who's going to, poach or try to take you down. And so, yeah, it's it's a normal cooking show, and then it's not, and that's what's really fun about it.
Sweet Empire. I can't wait for this. You said there are all the episodes left to binge, HBO, and also last episode is this Sunday, you said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Wells, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good to see you guys. And tell my relatives I say hello.
Bon dia. Bye.